Okay, so today I'm going to talk about framing. I know I've done videos about how I make my frames. Here I've got a little cityscape I did yesterday, and I've just set it in one of my floater frames. This is a 12 by 12. Here's another one, you may have seen this video. And I'm preparing for a show, so I just sort of set them in frames to see what sort of touch-ups I need to do. So today I'm going to actually be mounting a painting in a 20 by 20 inch painting into a floater frame. For my panels that are like say 20 by 20 or 16 by 20 or larger, I'll use a deeper floater frame, and what I do is I glue a cradle onto the back of the panel, and this is just whiteboard, masonite on one side, whiteboard on the other. You guys have probably seen me make panels. I will link to a video above if you're interested in checking that out. Anyway, so this painting has the cradle glued on it. I only glue cradles onto paintings that work out. That way when I'm storing these larger paintings like 20 by 20, 16 by 20s or whatever, they don't take up a lot of space. And you can see when it's set into the frame, there's a little bit of a difference in the plane of the painting and the front edge of the frame. I'd say it's inset about 1/8 of an inch. And then as far as like the gap, it's like a 1/4 inch gap all the way around. As for mounting, I'm going to drill a hole in the center of each side, and then I'll use pan head screws to mount the painting. And I'm going to screw into the cradle as if it was a stretcher bar. All right, so I'm going to go halfway here, and then about 5/8 inch from this edge, and I estimate that that'll put me almost center into this stretcher bar, or to the cradle as it's more appropriately called. So I just drill a pilot hole first and then go in with a bigger drill bit. All right, and I always try to put the best pieces of wood on the sides, and then, you know, if there's like say some imperfection in the grain, I'll put it on the top or the bottom where it's less visible when it's hanging on the wall. And in order to center the painting in the frame, I use spacers. These are just little bits of whiteboard masonite that I have left over from making panels. And they're a little loose, so I'll slip some cardboard in between to tighten them up. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so the space along the bottom is a little uneven, so I am going to put spacers on the narrow portion here and also here, which will maybe shift the painting a little bit so that these spaces look more even. All right, so then I'll set up the painting and just kind of look at the space, you know, the black painted space around the painting to make sure that it is uniform. And that looks pretty good. All right, so I'm going to be using 1¼ inch pan head screws to mount the painting in the frame. All right, now I can take out the spacers, and I start by taking out the cardboard, because if I pull out on the masonite, it could, you know, damage the edge of the painting here or damage the frame. By taking out the cardboard first, it loosens these up so they come right out. And I have a container that I keep just for this purpose. It's got masonite and little bits, you know, little bits of cardboard in it. All right, to mount the wire on the back, I measure down 1/3. Once again, I'm using pan head screws, and these are 5/8 inch. All right, and I'm just using picture wire that I got at Lowe's, and this is 20-pound picture wire. I don't know, this thing is probably only a couple pounds, so this is plenty strong. Then I use an ultra-fine point Sharpie to write title, my name, and also the year. If you mess up, you can use rubbing alcohol to erase. All right, some people have asked how I mount the cradle to the panel, And you can see some liquid nails here, which is an industrial adhesive, and that's what I use. So for smaller paintings like this 12 by 16, I just make the frames, they're not as deep. They're about 1/4 inch deep, so that when the painting is mounted in the frame, the surface plane of the painting and the surface plane of the front of the frame, there's about 1/8 of an inch of difference. So the painting is set in about 1/8 of an inch. The painting gets mounted with 3M mounting tape, which is a 2-sided foam tape, very, very strong. This is a 6 by 6 here, and these 4 little bits of tape are enough to hold a 6 by 6 in here. In fact, to get the painting out is kind of a challenge, even with just these little bits of tape. And in order to pry out a painting, I'll use a plastic putty knife so I don't mess up the edge of the frame or the painting. And you put the plastic putty knife under and pry until the tape bond breaks. And once you've broken both here and here, you can just pry the painting out. Okay, so this one here is all framed and ready to go. Got the picture wire, got the name, title, and date. And it has been varnished too with Gamvar. And I just simply brush it on and then wipe it off. Gamvar is varnish made by Gamblin Company. And the nice thing about it is you can apply Gamvar to your painting when it's dry to the touch. So you don't have to wait the typical 4 to 6 months for your painting to dry before varnishing, which most people don't have that time to wait. You know, my paintings typically, you know, a lot of them go out the door fairly quickly, so it's nice to be able to varnish them before sending them out. Some people ask why I build my own frames. It's a lot of work. But it does give me quality control. It also gives me the ability to, you know, I also make my own panels, so I can make any shape panel I want, any size, and then it's no problem to frame it. Also, too, what's really nice is I don't ever run into, you know, a supply problem where if I'm doing a show, I would have mixed frames. I like to have that sort of unified look where all of my frames are natural wood floaters. And to my knowledge, I don't think people have changed them out. Most people request them. It's become sort of part of my brand, or sort of part of my look, the look of my work and how I present my work. And I like the work to be, I use floaters because I like the work to be featured. And, you know, sometimes an ornate or big heavy frame can be distracting. I know, when I first started plein air painting, I was using gold frames, and I have a bunch of those. I don't know what I'm going to do with them. It just doesn't really suit my work. So then I switched over to black frames, but black frames just seem so heavy. And I went to a show back east at, Dowling Walsh Gallery in Rockland, Maine. And I saw some paintings there framed in these natural wood floaters, and I thought, wow, that's like perfect. It's very contemporary, it's clean, it's understated so that the work is really featured. And so when I got home, I priced natural wood floaters. I had a show coming up, actually, so I was thinking about how I was going to go about framing that show. I thought, oh, the natural wood floaters would be great, so I priced framing my show, and it would have been an outrageous amount of money out of pocket before I even made a penny, because as painters we are supposed to bring framed work to the gallery. So because I have woodworking experience, I thought, all right, I'm going to try to make these frames. And so now I've been making frames for 10 years, and I'd say over the last 3 years I've kind of, you know, I'm not making, you know, refinements to my process. At this point I've got it pretty well figured out. And I have a video about how I make my frames, and I'll link that above. Anyway, as I've mentioned, I've got a lot going on as far as shows are concerned. I've got this show here, this piece going out to this show, and then also there's my solo show in October. So I'll try to do as many videos as I can here on YouTube, but the content flow may be reduced for a little bit here. But I'll do what I can. Anyway, as usual, thanks for hanging out, guys. Stay creative, and I'll see you in the next video.